Mic check, mic check. Alright, if you were tuned in about 30 minutes ago, we were getting down to an early morning mix. And so now we're going to go over some cannabis news. I like to, hold on. I like to see what's going on in the world of cannabis. Everything's always changing. The people will vote to legalize it, and then you'll have some hater, filing some motions or something, right? Let's see. Get this switched over. But yeah, man, there'll be some damn haters trying to reverse the people's decision, every time. So you gotta come correct when you come for your legalization. Gotta make sure everything is on the up and up, legal, by the book. Right from, let me turn this down. Right from the point that you start petitioning, like from that beginning point, everything's got to be on point, because these people are looking for anything and everything to put some salt in the cannabis game. You know what I mean? And let me update my titles. Let's see, cannabis news. What's the date? Today is the 11th. So I'll do 5/11/21. Update all. Cool. So we are live on Twitch, Mixcloud, YouTube, and DLive. All right. Let me let my people know. To tell my Facebook group that I would let them know. See if anybody wants to tune in, educate themselves a little bit, Alright, let's see. Ooh, National Cannabis Festival. Cannabis Wire. Let's see what this National Cannabis Festival. It's a play on words. Weed, W-E-D. We'd like you to join us on 4/17/2020 in Washington, D.C. The National Cannabis Festival is a celebration of progress on legalization of marijuana in D.C. and across the nation through live music, advocacy, and exhibitions. So, let's go to the website and see if there's anything. Let's switch this hat around. There we go. I have to break my neck to see. All right, let's see. View update on 2021. Dear NCF family, like you, we wish more than anything that we could have National Cannabis Festival in April, but with COVID-19 pandemic still impacting so many and with current limitations on large gatherings, we don't feel that we can bring you a safe, carefree NCF experience that you know and love. Let's see, we will announce the rescheduled date on June 1st. So if you're interested in that, it is nationalcannabisfestival.com. Summit info. Concert. Let's see what kind of people they have. DJ Farrah Fawcett, Lee Backwood and Graham, The Archives, Antabalas, Backyard Band, Young M.A., Method Man and Redman. Oh, nice. Is that it? DJ Farah. I know I'm getting off track, but just bear with me. I just want to see who this person is. Being a DJ, like it's gonna bother me if I don't check it out. Let's see, DJ Farah Fawcett. That's cool. Play on words. She looks to be pretty busy. Like she's got a rotation here at Dirty Goose. I hear that clicking noise again. I don't know what that is. I'll have to call somebody and ask them. So anyway, all right, let's get to the news. So first up, this is from marijuanamoment.net. Feds announce new standard THC dose. Oh wait, shit! I forgot to let my damn people know. Hold on. Twitch. Or no, let me do YouTube. Most people are doing the YouTube thing. Dude, that is getting on my nerves. Copy. Okay. Here we go. Alright. Live now. And going over a few articles. All right, so yeah, first up, feds announced new standard THC dose to be used in marijuana research, effective immediately. This is May 7th. A top federal health agency announced on Friday that it has determined the standard dose of THC that should be used for marijuana studies moving forward. The National Institute on Drug Abuse, NIDA, said in a notice to researchers that there is a new requirement to measure and report results using a standard THC unit in all applicable human subjects research, which is effective immediately. That standard is 5 milligrams of THC. Are you fucking kidding me? What? NIDA said the inconsistencies in measuring and reporting THC exposure has been a major limitation in studies of cannabis use, making it difficult to compare findings among studies. Therefore, a standardized measure of THC in cannabis products is necessary to advance research by providing greater comparability across studies of both its adverse effects and potential medical uses. This, I'm guarantee you, this is coming from people that have no clue what they're talking about at all. They're just making up shit. They're just making up rules just to make it up. Unless you're doing studies on it, how do you know it's the right direction to go? Like, these doctors need to do the studies and they need to figure it out. If you want to do a standardized thing, fine, but 5 milligrams, like, you need to leave it up to the doctors. So, because if they have a patient, right, you have 10 patients. We'll say 5 of those patients are responding really well to 5 milligrams. And it happens, it does, right? Really well. And then you have 5 that aren't, but the standardized thing is 5 milligrams. You know, are they going to allow them to go higher if they need to? Because that's the thing. 5 milligrams, like, if you're a patient, if you're helping your patient, or the person, yeah, if you're helping this patient, you're trying to study, and you're trying to figure out what is going to help them, then you need to be able to increase the dose of the THC, notate it, right? But limiting it to 5% is just ludicrous. Like, it's stupid. All right. The agency recognized, however, that the same quantity of THC may have different effects based on route of administration, other product constituents, an individual's genetic makeup and metabolic factors, prior exposure to cannabis, and other factors. But by creating a standard THC dose, it will nonetheless be easier to compare studies that involve THC exposure, which is a high priority of NIDA and the National Advisory Council on Drug Abuse. You're not going to find out shit. You're not going to find out anything by doing this. Because if 5 milligrams doesn't work on someone on the study that you're doing, the fuck does it matter? Like, it's stupid. It's just government, right, overstepping their boundaries, like always. So, for the ones that vote for the big government politicians, Merry Christmas, early Christmas, because this is the type of shit that you get when you have this big bloated government that just wants to try to control and do every facet of your life. Like, you know, I'm not gonna get off on that. I'm here to talk about cannabis. So, let's see, where are we at? It is not the intent of this notice to prescribe the quantity of THC that is permissible for use in research projects. Indeed, investigators are free to use more or less than 5 milligrams of THC as appropriate for their study, the notice says. However, for applicable studies, investigators will be required to report the quantity of THC using the standard unit. Investigators may also report the quantity of THC in other units, milligrams, as appropriate. Either way, okay, so they recognize that. Either way, what is the point? Like, let these people figure it out. Like, we don't need the government. People can figure that shit out by themselves. Doctors don't need these people micromanaging shit. Don't need it. Like, we work so hard to get to the point where you can go to the store and you can get what you need, and people can study it and try to do great things with it. But then you gotta reach in there and you gotta just 5%, 5 milligrams. You gotta stop. Just leave them alone. Leave them alone. They'll figure it out. People will. I mean, you know, shit. Don't get me. I'm just like, no matter what. I mean, they really need to get out of the whole thing. Just take your little tax money, do what you need to do with it. We know you're gonna waste it, and just leave them alone. To be legalize it federally, so people can move and they can operate and they can get funding and they can really do real research. Like, you're not legalizing it federally, and you put all these little fucking rules and shit because you won't federally legalize it so it can be properly studied, and like, it's stupid. Like, they need to, like, please, I know some of these big government politicians seem like they're going to do the right thing with cannabis, but when have they? Right? When have they? So, like, there's not even talk, really. I mean, it was talk during like the campaign, but it's kind of fallen by the wayside. Like, we could really use that as a country, people, patience, money, right? Instead of taxing us to death, how about just legalize cannabis and take that money and use it for your programs and leave people's pocketbooks alone. You've used cannabis against communities for decades. Why don't you use cannabis to help communities for decades, right? That would make a whole lot more sense. But, you know, making sense in Washington, D.C., it's an oxymoron. So, I mean, it's just my thought. I think that's a pretty good idea, though. Legalize the cannabis. Use that for your programs, right? Let other people prosper and stuff, and prosper from their hard work. You know, like my wife works, shit. She's up at work about 8:30 in the morning. Some nights she don't get home till 11. A lot of times like about 9. 8:30 is early for her. But then like at the end of the week or when we get our commission check, it's just all that hard work for like almost literally half the check is gone after everything. You know, like it's a really discouraging feeling, you know, when you work hard and you know, everybody knows that we should contribute to society. Let me get back on this weed shit, damn it. All right. So, let's see. Yeah, so I'm gonna get off of this one. You know, they should just leave them alone. They don't really need to put any kind of standardize or this or that. Just, I mean, it's a plant. All right, Alabama governor hopes to sign medical marijuana bill after reviewing its provisions. Alabama's governor said on Friday that she hopes to sign a medical marijuana bill that lawmakers sent to her desk this week, but only after she takes a close look at its provisions. I hope after thoroughly reviewing it, we can sign the bill, Governor Kay Ivey, Republican, told WSFA TV, adding that she's aware of cannabis's medical benefits, but also has some concerns. The governor has expressed openness to pass medical cannabis proposals, but earlier on Friday, a spokesperson from her office declined to say what action she would take on this latest bill. So, as with any piece of legislation that reaches the governor's desk, we look forward to thoroughly reviewing it, the spokesperson wrote in an email to Marijuana Moment. We appreciate the debate from the legislature on the topic. This is certainly an emotional issue. We are sensitive to that, and we give it the diligence it deserves. While the measure was approved with a 2-1 margin in both the House and Senate, some Republican lawmakers vigorously opposed its passage, staging a lengthy filibuster earlier this week that delayed the final votes. I guarantee it's probably older Republicans, because I've noticed a lot of like the younger Republicans, like they're down with it. A lot of them probably smoke weed, but it's usually the older ones, or you know, if it's a young one, it's somebody that's got some donors or some shit somewhere that's in their ear, because none of them are saying no because of health concerns. You can bank on that. None of them are. This legislation hasn't been formally transmitted to Ivey's desk yet, but when it is, the state constitution sets a tight deadline for gubernatorial action. While the legislature is in session, the governor has 6 days from the time she gets the bill to either approve, veto, or take no action and let it go into law without her signature. She could also propose line item amendments and send it back to lawmakers who could then approve or reject them. While Ivey hasn't been especially vocal about the issue, she was asked about a prior medical cannabis bill in 2019 and said, "I'm still trying to get the details, but if it's tightly controlled and limited to just those illnesses as verified by medical professionals, it'd be worth considering. If it's a limited regulated medical marijuana program that the governor wants, it stands to reason that the legislation heading to her desk will meet that standard. But in light of the earlier comment, it seems possible that any line item amendments proposed by the governor could target the list of qualifying conditions." Of course. Marijuana Moment is already tracking more than 1,100 cannabis, psychedelics, and drug policy bills in states, legislatures, and Congress this year. So, we shall see. That's where I'm at, Alabama. So, we shall see if we get some weed over here, man. That'd be awesome. Awesome. I'm like, hell yeah. Top aide to Texas Agriculture Commissioner arrested for alleged hemp corruption scheme. It's already beginning. Smith and others involved in the scheme are alleged in the warrant to have solicited a total of $150,000 to guarantee a license, including a $25,000 upfront cost for a survey that said we required that they said was required to get a license in Texas. So, they were just telling people they had to get all this money for a license, and it wasn't true. Yeah, they just took the fucking money. Bunch of damn crooks. All right, what we got? Frequent marijuana consumers are actually more physically active than non-users, study finds, smashing stereotypes. You know, I can see it. I can see it because, I mean, there is a lot of weed out there you smoke and you're just not going to do anything. You're not going to feel like doing anything. You might feel great, but it's just that type of weed, right? But then you'll have some that'll either, you know, make you think a lot, be all up in your head, or make you just want to do something like, you know, something creative or whatever. And people smoke cannabis for those reasons, right? Non-smokers don't really pay attention. Like, they're not smoking to be able to do something. They're just not doing it or doing it or whatever. Bad example. But, you know, like I can tell you for sure, like if I have a good sativa, when I'm able to get it, if I'm working, you know, say I'm doing deliveries or whatever, right? And I'm just out and about, you know, 8-10 hours, like, you know, I'm just like, I get drained. I'm ready to come home. I'm ready to chill. But like having like a little pen, right? Taking a small break, and like it doesn't, like maybe like 3 or 4 hits, like that's it, right? And not even like long ones, you know, like they say a dose is like a 10-second pull, or yeah, I think it's 10-second pull. So, you know, I would do like 5, like half of it, you know. But I would notice that, you know, my back wouldn't hurt, like it normally, because you're sitting in that car and you're on those, you know, the springs starts to like eventually start feeling their way through, and I just, you know, you just get uncomfortable sitting down in a car for so long. So that definitely helps. And I could extend my work day out, from like 8 to 10 hours to like 14 hours, and I didn't even skip a beat if I wanted to. So I don't doubt it. Let's see what this study is about. Oh, let's watch this anti-pot ad. Let's see what this is. Hold on, let me pause this music. It's pretty cool. Like, I got some royalty-free music from the site just to have like some background music or whatever. All right, let's see what this.
So, Sarah, what's going on here? Sarah?
She won't answer you. Or she can't.
Why not?
This is the way it's been since she started smoking pot. She's all lazy and boring, and, you know, we used to have so much fun together.
And now?
This is what we do.
I remember that organization. I wonder if they're still doing their propaganda. Yeah, I used to watch all this shit. I used to believe it too. I'm like, damn, that shit got messed up. Smoking that weed, she got deflated like a flat tire. That's a bunch of BS. All right, let's see. In a stereotype busting new study, researchers found that frequent marijuana consumers are actually more likely to be physically active compared to non-using counterparts. For decades, anti-cannabis propaganda has cast marijuana consumers as unmotivated couch potatoes. This government. But a study published in the Harm Reduction Journal on Thursday found the opposite to be true. A nationally representative analysis of accelerometer measures sedentary behavior showed that people who frequently use marijuana, particularly those aged 40 and older, spend more time engaging in physical activity than non-users do. Our findings do support that mainstream perception of cannabis users as living sedentary lifestyles, the researchers concluded, do not support. It says they found that there's no significant difference between non-current cannabis users and light, moderate, or frequent cannabis users in minutes per day spent in sedentary behavior. The difference came down to the average minute that each group spent in physical activity. I mean, well, shit, you got to go get your weed, right? So that's a physical activity right there, just going to get it. And you got to grind it up, right? And you got to roll shit. So you got to do a bunch of shit just to have weed. So, I mean, it makes sense. In general, they found after controlling for all covariates, frequent cannabis users engaged in significantly greater amounts of light physical activity and moderate to vigorous physical activity compared to non-current users, the study states. In the adjusted model, moderate cannabis use predicted more minutes spent in moderate to vigorous physical activity compared to non-current use. But this association was not significant upon controlling for all covariates. Light cannabis users did not significantly different from non-current users in time engaged in physical activity. So, yeah, so it's saying you got to smoke more weed to be more active. Makes sense, right? That's what I do. I just smoke more weed, be more active. All right, it says the results suggest that frequent cannabis users engage in more physical activity than non-current users, but spent similar amounts of time in sedentary behavior, the researchers said. While the study indicated that light marijuana use is not associated with a statistically significant difference in time being physically active, those who infrequently use cannabis were more likely to self-report more moderate physical activity compared to non-users. So, maybe do your own little experiment and go a few days of light use and then a few days of heavy use and see which one you do more shit on. It's the only way you're going to find out. You can't do any study, right? You can't do some study. They're going to make you limit your shit to 5 milligrams. I know they're not limiting it, but they just got their hands in it. But yeah, just do your own little experiment, right? If you don't want to do it 3 days and 3 days, just do it, do it 1 day and 1 day, or 2 days and 2 days, just to see. It'd be interesting to find out, how I know it's not true for everybody, but I wonder if, it has any validity to it. All right, so Texas House approves psychedelics research bill as marijuana reform measures also advance. So, Texas House of Representatives on Thursday approved to a bill that would require the state to conduct a study into the therapeutic potential of psychedelics like psilocybin and MDMA. If you don't know what MDMA is, if you're not from the old school, the street name is ecstasy or Molly. That's the only two I know, but that's what MDMA is. If you don't know anything about it, it was actually legal up until about 1985, and then the federal government outlawed it. They used it in marriage counseling, but it's been around. I think it was created back in the 30s or the 20s. It was a German scientist, and it was for weight loss at first, and it's different effects depending upon the dose, but yeah, they use it a lot in marriage counseling, and then people find out shit, this shit is great, let's learn how to make it. So they started making it, and went out into the streets, and government is no, you can't have no fun. people were dying or whatever was going on. And so they outlawed it in 1985. I heard about parties in Texas, actually. They were having rolling parties, is what they call the trip. Rolling parties the night before it went into effect, and said that you go to like these bars and there would be like a bowl, and it would just be full of like ecstasy pills in there, and they were just giving them out, partying like, for the night before it went illegal. So let's see. The legislation sponsored by Representative Alex Dominguez, Democrat, passed a vote of 134 to 12. Wow. It had advanced on second reading via a voice vote a day earlier. Now it heads to the Senate. Let's see. The House Public Health Committee passed the bill with amendments last week. Members revised the measure to limit the scope of the state-funded study to focus on military veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder rather than a broader list of conditions attached to the bill. We lose about 6,000 veterans every year, and since 2001, we have lost 114,000 of our veterans to PTSD and suicide, Dominguez said on the floor before the second reading vote. The legislation would do something that's sorely needed, and that's take a fresh look at what we can do to save the lives of our servicemen and women that have given their lives to this country, he said. We can make a difference, and we can send a message to Washington that they need to be doing more. I 100% agree. The bill will require the state to study the medical risk and benefits of psilocybin, MDMA, and ketamine for veterans in partnership with Baylor College of Medicine. And I read that all kind of weird. Let me read it again. The bill will require the state to study the medical risks and benefits of psilocybin, MDMA, and ketamine for veterans in partnership with Baylor College of Medicine and a military-focused medical center. It was also amended to mandate a clinical trial into psilocybin for veterans with PTSD, in addition to a broader review of the scientific literature on all three substances. So if you don't know about, there's a company called mindmed.net or .com. I found out about it through Kevin Leary, which is on like Shark Tank. He invested in this company, and it's a company that's doing a lot of research into psychedelics and treating addiction, anxiety, depression, a lot of like actual mental illness things that they're using. Like, and they're studying DMT, mushrooms, ibogaine, mescaline, like pretty much like all like the natural shit. I think they're even doing LSD too, because that's kind of a big thing. All right, so what do we got left? So that is it. That's the last one of the day. I didn't want to do a real long live stream. I know people got shit to do, and I wanted you to be able to kind of watch it from beginning to end. So I hope it was informative. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe, and let your people know. We'll have some more of these coming up, and some more interviews. So